Let's go right now to David Morey. He's the vice chairman of Core Strategy Group, foreign policy and national security expert. Mr. Trump has announced he will stop so-called provocative war games with South Korea. Mr. Morey, thank you for joining us.
Good to be with you, Dr. Drew.
So what does that mean? Does he mean he's going to stop the upcoming planned war games with South Korea, or for the time being suspend any war games? And what does that concession mean to North Korea?
Well, for the time being, he's going to suspend the military exercises. It's a gesture. A lot of people think it's too much of a gesture. Look, I mean, if you look at the big picture here, this is the beginning of a beginning of a beginning.
Right.
It's better than where we were 6 months ago, and this is a gesture. The North Koreans made a similar gesture. We got a long way to go here. We're going to need a lot of strategic patience to execute this, and that is not his personality type. So I'm hoping Secretary Pompeo will become the Secretary of Implementation.
It's neither of their personality types, as far as I can tell.
Pompeo, Un
or Trump.
But Pompeo seems to be the operator here. I mean, think about what this would have been like if Rex Tillerson had been there. It would not have been a similar. It would not have been as smooth, I suspect.
That's correct. Yeah, I mean, Secretary Pompeo, everything's relative. I thought he was such a hardliner. I worried about him. He's become super competent. And this thing is going to take multiple years, 300 steps. They have 100 nuclear sites, 60 nuclear weapons. This is 3 or 4 times more complicated than the Iranian deal. It doesn't mean we can't fast track a negotiation, but it's going to take a lot of work, and we need more experts in the government to get that done.
Is that number 60 something we knew before the summit, or is that a new number?
That's it. That we knew that before the summit, but we're learning things from the summit. Remember, Kim Jong-un hadn't met another world leader a year ago.
Yeah.
It's kind of amazing, including the president of China. So all of a sudden, we're learning a lot. We're better talking than not talking. I think you might agree, but there's a lot of work to do to make this real.
Why isn't there a general feeling of optimism? This is like a historic shift. It's a move, and it's a tectonic move. Why aren't people relatively euphoric?
Well, I think it quickly sinks into politics, right? If President Trump brags about it too much, he's going to infuriate the Democrats, and if the Democrats criticize it too much, they're going to infuriate President Trump. We got to rise up above politics. And the truth is, we've been here before, except we've never had a meeting like this. That's the history of it, or the uniqueness of it. We've had something on paper even stronger than the 200 words that were put together last night. It's just that Trump deserves credit for disrupting. In this world with all this crazy change around us, sometimes you have to disrupt and go out of the box to make progress. Now, does he have the strategic patience to deal with this? And let's also remember the regime we're dealing with. This is, read the 2014 UN Human Rights Report. This is not anything but a murderous regime, so we can't kid ourselves. We're dealing with very difficult issues, but it's better than nuclear war, an unthinkable nuclear war, which is what military intervention would have brought us. What
are the chances that Kim Jong-un could go back to his country and get overthrown by a bunch of angry generals who have a different point of view?
Very unlikely. You'll notice he fired a couple generals on the way over to the.
Did he?
Yeah.
Is firing in quotes? Did something happen to them?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure how that firing word is manifested, but he is precocious and ruthlessly, rising to power and keeping it. So he's very popular now because remember, this is what his grandfather couldn't do. To sit in front of a president. And I'm hoping it's not just the U.S. pressure or sanctions that may have been helpful. I'm hoping all of a sudden this guy has gotten satiated with his nuclear appetite filled, and he's turning and saying, let me rebuild my country. If that's the case, then we really can make some progress here and denuclearize. Everybody's got a different opinion of that. Denuclearize the North Korean country.
Lauren, I'm sorry, I stepped on you a couple times. You're trying to ask a question.
No, you're saying we have a long way to go, but what is the next step after this? I mean, they've both said there'll be more summits, but tomorrow, what happens? I mean, the letter was really, as far as I could tell, didn't really have any teeth. I know this is a big moment. We're definitely further than we've gone in the last 60 years. But what now?
Great question. Secretary Pompeo, I think he's the Secretary of Implementation. He's got a couple things up his sleeve in terms of immediate follow-ups. And those have to be, it's like anything in life. It's what you write about, Dr. Drew. It's momentum. It's creating momentum. How do you create change? I write books about creating change. How do you create change without building small momentum, step by step? So it's going to be we've got kind of a freeze, and then there's a moratorium, and then there's, it's also like a relationship, confidence building measures back and forth, incremental progress, verified all the way. And the North Koreans will frustrate us in this 1 or 2 year process. They'll pull back, they'll jump forward, they'll be missing in action. We're going to have to be very, very strategically patient.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand what people expected, that they were going to walk away from this summit and Kim Jong-un was going to go, all right, right now we're going to go dismantle 60. That'll take about 3 years, but right now we'll do it. And people are going to go, wait, what? That was nothing. That was nothing. What do people want? We've got war games suspended. We have reunification. Wait.
That wasn't
listen.
even on the table.
Yes, he agreed to denuclear. And he's going.
What I'm saying is, Donald Trump came up with that war games by himself. The Pentagon was never notified by that. He didn't realize that.
So here's what's happening. War game. Agreed to denuclearize. So apparently a plan for something next week, and reunification underway. I mean, how much more could they possibly do in a week? How is it possible to have done more? That's what I don't understand.
Well, what's disrupting, disruption is scary to a political system. So the political system is not used to starting toward the end and then, working backwards, which is what this summit did. We started with the big meeting and the 200-word, communique about the objectives. And now we're working sort of back to the details. So
right.
That's disrupted everyone.
Right.
It's the process, really, that's disrupted people.
But, of course, we're talking to David Morey. He's did I pronounce your last name correct, David? Is it Morey or Morey?
Morey.
David Morey, Vice Chairman of Core Strategy Group, Foreign Policy and National Security Expertise. Is there a website?
Yes. There's actually a book website, creatingbizmagic.com. Quick vignette. I actually met you at the Magic Castle a couple of years ago.
Oh, crazy.
Magic was performed when President Moon first met with Chairman Kim from North Korea. They had a magician there.
Is that true?
That's true, yeah.
No.
Yeah, and magic sort of elevates. So that's what the book is about. Creatingbizmagic.com is the website. Yeah, no, it's true, because we're going to have to transcend to actually get some of this stuff done. If we get marred in the politics of stuff, we're in big trouble here.
Yeah, I just don't. My thing is, like, I'm so happy we're moving in this direction. I don't understand how more could have been done quicker. I don't get it. I know if
I don't know. They could have signed something that meant something.
With what? Like, what would
do you mean with what?
Like a timetable or something?
Like some specifics, yeah.
That I'm assuming, help me, David, that would be coming in the next couple of weeks, right?
Yeah. You're not going to get more than you got, and it's just that this is a beginning, and it's only a beginning of a beginning. It's 200 words. It's aspirational, and in truth, we did give up a lot. Other presidents could have done this meeting, but also they didn't. And, you saw the the U.S. and the North Korean flags together. That bothered some people. This is they still have gulags over there. So there's a lot that we gave up. We stopped the military exercises. But still, how do you not succeed unless you disrupt? You got to disrupt.
Yeah, I saw the lower third on CNN saying we gave everything and got nothing. It's like, did we do nothing or do everything, or what? What did we do here? Did we do nothing or we did too much? Which is it? It's really kind of crazy making. I just hope. My fear, I have just because what you can't appreciate, getting too caught up in the pomp and circumstance of these meeting, is this is a really high stakes game in reality, including things like he could get home and get assassinated. Trump could make him angry in some way. They could completely violate each other's trust. The whole thing could unravel easily. But it's a process that's going to take, the next much like the Russian process. It didn't all happen in Reykjavik. Because history sort of writes it as though, it all happened right there in Reykjavik. No, it was 5 years of meetings.
Yeah.
And this is going to be the same.
Our social media-driven lack of patience is not going to help here, but some studies say this will take 5 to 15 years.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I think it can be fast-tracked. But we need a Manhattan Project to fast-track this. I mean, Pompeo should bring some really great experts because the State Department is way understaffed, and we don't have an ambassador to Korea now. We don't have an assistant secretary for Asia. And fast-track it. I mean, what we do in business, when companies stall because they're bureaucratic, we create a MAC group like Jobs did. You pull great people a little bit away from the bureaucracy, get them moving faster. Remember when Trump built the ice rink in New York City?
Yeah.
Sort of like that. Get a deal done in the next year or two, and that will help change the world.
But to be fair, as you're saying, because political systems don't like change, going too fast could be the problem, right? You could go too fast.
Yeah, but you're going to have to go you're going to have to go too fast to get it done, and just not triple too fast. You know, I mean, you're going to have to deal with the Senate. The Senate's never in recent history, the Senate has not approved any treaty. So you're going to have to bring less than a treaty to the Senate and get that done. There's a whole bunch of steps. You're going to have to bring party members on. This can be done because, again, like 3 weeks ago, we were at either let's ignore their nuclear weapons, and that's not very healthy for Guam, Japan, Hawaii, or anyone else in the region, or let's intervene militarily, which most analysts say is 1 million people dead and $1 trillion in damage in a day or two.
Ugh.
250,000 Americans near the DMZ zone, 28,500 troops, U.S. troops. So tell me how military intervention works. This is where I think John Bolton is so wrong. And we also, and by the way, Trump has to manage his hardliners. I mean, he's going to have to let Pompeo and Mathis, Secretary of Defense, Secretary of State, or Secretary in reverse order, Secretary of State, Secretary of Defense, drive the game here because these guys are super competent. They were kind of built for this. And the last thing that Secretary Mathis wants is a war.
Right.
I mean, it's his job to avoid war where he can.
And as it pertains to the maximum, what are we calling it, where they're sort of strangling their economy, maximum, I forget the name of it. We seem to be getting towards loosening that. Is that a mistake in doing that too quickly?
No, I think we haven't withdrawn the sanctions yet, so that's smart. We've already given them a lot. The meeting itself is a lot. But again, you know, if Hillary Clinton or Barack Obama had done this, they'd be impeached. You know, I mean, Trump in some ways, because both parties are so sort of nowhere, was able to do this. And that we just might be in a lucky moment in that sense. And in the North Korean terms, we have to assume or hope that this dictator, Chairman Kim, is more than a dictator, that he can see what economic expansion and openness will do. And once you start transparency, it's hard to stop it, i.e. the Soviet Union, right? I mean, Senator Moynihan once said to us, we worked with him, he said, the Soviet Union is over in the late 1980s. We said, what do you mean? He said, the Xerox machine. It's done. It's all over. Once that was, you know, once you mimeograph, once you amplify information, you can't stop it. And I'm hoping that'll happen in terms of North Korea.
Did you see that video that Trump apparently played for the chairman?
Yeah.
Did you see that?
It was like a buy our timeshare video.
Kind of.
Condos on the beach.
Yeah. You could be owner of this magnificent beach condo.
It was not that. It was actually more dramatic. It was bum, 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 bum. 2 men, this moment can change the world. 5 billion people holding their breath. You know, it's that kind of thing.
Now, we're laughing, but you know what? I'm not sure Kim Jong-un has seen something that's a good sales video. I mean, he watches American TV, but it probably impressed him. I think so far so good.
All right, so far so good. We will leave it at that, and I appreciate your thoughts. Website again?
www.creatingbizmagic.com.
Thank you much, David.
Thanks, Dr. Drew. Thanks so much.
You betcha. It's David Morey. He is the Vice Chairman of Core Strategy Group, foreign policy and national security expert.